Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? I'm just checking out all my sound and everything because I'm still not reacclimated to regular streaming again. I do have one planned for tomorrow, and then there's one planned for Tuesday. Tuesday, I will be speaking with Jake Porter again. That was an extremely popular episode that we did on Imbezabel. So this is going to continue because it is simply shocking to me. And maybe it shouldn't be. It's kind of like in the church. I know this is I always have my pre-show little rants. Even and hello Rich. Um like in the church, you tend to assume that, since you're dealing with Christians, like everyone's decent. And I think somehow I imported that over into the Libertarian Party because I have to tell you, I'm completely shook by something. And I probably said this in the show with Jake Porter, but I'll say it again. When there was someone that I've been really friendly with that I saw was commenting positively on one of the embezzler's posts, I private messaged this person and said she literally embezzled from the party. And the response was, "Oh my God, I don't care." That is degeneracy. And that is just shocking to me that it exists in the Libertarian Party. So we're going to go into more because it wasn't just freedom calls. I started blowing the whistle on this stuff a year ago and paid dearly for it and would do it all over again. But this onion has so more layers than the Tor browser, okay? If we want to get geeky here. But today, we're going to be talking about something that happened in Reno and a lot of re-examination. So if you're a thoughtful person, and what I mean by thoughtful, I don't mean like somebody who leaves nice gifts for somebody. Like if you think a lot, of you reflective person maybe is the word I'm trying to look for, you will see cycles of evolution in your thinking, and sometimes you'll think one thing, go way in another direction, and then maybe walk it back a little bit. And I think that's where I am at with this. But before I forget, anyway, I am looking, I am such a terrible YouTuber. Here we go. Here it is with this. Before I forget, please subscribe to the channel. I really, really appreciate it. And you can follow me on Twitter at Karen Ann Harlos. And last but not least, I really, really appreciate support on Patreon, which is patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. For all the ring that goes on about this being a quote unquote monetized YouTube channel, because that means something very specific to YouTube creators, because you have to meet certain metrics before you can earn YouTube revenue. Anyone can open a Patreon account. My quote unquote monetized YouTube channel, you know how much I made in ads last month? I think, well, it was before the Jake Porter show. Hey, Nolan, $2.04. That's what everyone like is getting their, assholes puckered up all over, is $2.04, because anyone can have a Patreon. The former embezzling chair had a Patreon, and I didn't have a problem with that, because if people want to voluntarily support you, that's fine. All a monetized YouTube channel means is that you've got, at least the metrics, the last time, I'm trying to remember what they are. You have to have over 1,000 subscribers and a certain number of watch hours per year. So you could lose it if you don't keep streaming. But really, the main advantage to me in a monetized YouTube channel, because I do need to mention this, so forget about ads, is it does allow super chats. So super chats always matter, and so does super thanks after the fact. So this is very Libertarian Party inside baseball. You might be interested in this if you're not part of the Libertarian Party, but you might not be. But if you're just concerned in general with the level of just open, loud and proud bigotry then this, even though this is kind of very specific to the Libertarian Party, it still might be of interest to you. So let's go back in time, shall we? I don't know why I've got such an itchy nose today. It's like I feel like I got to sneeze. Oh, I know why. I go on cleaning. Like once I start cleaning, I go into cleaning frenzies. It's like a cleaning mania. And I was up totally. Now I know why I feel like I've got probably just dust all up my nose. Went on a cleaning frenzy upstairs and just was like, came downstairs and told Wayne, this got to go to the cleaners and this and this. I get like that. And Harambe approves, by the way. So let's go back in time, shall we? And that's the Reno Convention. There used to be a sentence in our platform that said, bigotry is irrational and repugnant. And it's so funny because I often do a Freudian slip when I'm quoting that and say is irrational and Republican, which isn't wrong. It isn't wrong. And I'm going to go on another tangent. That's what I do. Hey, Mike, I'm going on a tangent for your sake right now. So, yeah, I got real tired of. Anyway, we used to be able to, in the long ago, distant past, there was this great cleaning lady who was real inexpensive that we used to have come to our house. And like, it's sadly in need of that. So Wayne and I made a deal today where I'm responsible for all of the upstairs and the one downstairs bathroom, and he's responsible for the downstairs because I can't take it anymore. And a lot of it's because of the pets, particularly our parrots. They have a lot of dander. So dust is just, this is the Oklahoma Dust Bowl in my house. I swear it is. Anyway, so we used to have that as a platform plank. And a lot of us libertarians, the either real or almost autists that we are, we like to sit and ponder theory. And that is great. In pure libertarian, yeah, it was we condemn bigotry as irrational. Almost said Republican again. I'm not wrong. We like to ponder pure theory. And it is a fact, and I know some people will disagree with me. And listen, I think I've proven myself pretty open to changing my mind on things. In pure libertarian theory, it is possible to be a libertarian bigot as long as you are not using force against the group that you are bigoted against. And when I say, everyone's like, oh, you can't even define bigotry. I do agree it's a slippery term. And those are some reasons why that plank or that sentence got deleted. But I think we all know it when we see it. There might be some grayness at the edges, but with the mask off, hoods on part, I think we all know it when we see it. So let's just say, can you be a libertarian and have a lot of the same beliefs, and let's just say be a white separatist? Yeah, you can, as long as you're not using the force of government, to force other people to do things. Now, do I think that's absolutely gross? Yes. But in pure theory, is that possible? It is. But the fact is, we don't live in pure theory. But I'm more than willing to concede in pure theory that is, in fact, a possible scenario. But again, in pure theory, if you give an infinite amount of time, nearly anything could happen. Was it 99 monkeys pounding out all the works of Shakespeare? The fact is, if you have hateful attitudes and think you're better than other people, eventually that is, I believe, going to manifest and you justifying restricting the rights of those people. But let's say you aren't doing any of that. Fine. pure theory. Now, here's where the question comes in. So, during the time of Reno, which people like to forget, because right now, bigots just run rampantly free in some areas of the LP. If you deny that, you just are not facing reality. And we cannot deal with cleaning our own house if we deny what's before our face. But the fact is, in a party of freedom, there are always going to be members who feel that way. The problem is, it isn't just members right now. It's people in positions of leadership at whatever level it might be. And that should be an absolute disqualifier for anyone for a position of leadership. And my bird's screaming upstairs, and it, ADHD, oh my God, it actually is. Look, a bird. Here, a bird. So in removing that from the platform, the intent was we wanted to remove things from the platform that were not congruent with pure theory. Bigotry is a state of mind. Are we going to have in our platform a thought police that we're going to condemn somebody's thoughts as irrational and repugnant? Should we also have in our platform that Mondays suck and cancer is bad? That is the type of rhetoric that was going around. And I agree with all of that. So I actually do agree. Some people are going to now be upset that that particular statement as worded did not belong in the platform. The platform is theory. The platform already says that if private actors are doing things such as being bigots that you do not care for, that the proper response is social ostracization. I'm trying to say ostrachization. I'm thinking of the bird first and then whatever. However, being silent on the issue by removing it from the platform seemed to give tacit approval, even though silence isn't approval. So while I don't think it belonged in the platform, just so you know, I didn't vote to remove it. I didn't vote to remove it because I did feel it was. I also didn't vote to remove the abortion plank. And for very pragmatic reasons, just like it was very pragmatic reasons for this. I did not want to give an open door to bigots. And I was told that, I was crying wolf and that wouldn't happen. And I think time has shown that my concerns were correct. I also did not want to remove the abortion plank, even though I am pro-life. And I used to want to remove the abortion plank, is because I think it is a bulwark against a Republican invasion of our party. And I think I have been proven right on that point, too. However, this starts getting now we're putting the abortion thing aside. We could do a whole other show on that. Back to the, we condemn bigotry as irrational and repugnant. It starts to get into the thick versus thin libertarian debate. I am looking at comments, so I'm gonna start putting comments up here. And again, all super chat comments always get posted, but you don't always have to do that. If I see something interesting, I will put this up here. But Dave Davis says, I think some members of the Mises Caucus and some LP state affiliates invited bigots into the party with the rhetoric. They absolutely did. They absolutely did. And it is some. Whether or not this was deliberate. In some cases, I absolutely believe that it was deliberate. And in other cases, they let it happen, and then negligence becomes deliberate. as far as I'm concerned. Bigots should have been made to feel unwelcome. Whether it's in our platform or not, our position as libertarians, as members of the Libertarian Party, Big L, bigots should be made to feel absolutely unwelcome to be in our party. But that's not something you put in the platform. So how do you handle this? For one thing, you have to have an LNC that doesn't have their balls that have completely shrunk up into the crevices of their carcasses and be able to actually condemn this kind of shit. See, don't you love the free me better? Because I could actually say what I'm really thinking. That was utter cowardice. Cowards who would not condemn the bigoted Twitter things that were going on and are still going on. But again, I don't think it belongs in the platform. Now this is going to seem like a bit of a tangent. Oh, and there was another question here before I go into my tangent. Because CK Nightlighter. For one thing, I'm not, just so you know, I am not condemning right libertarians whatsoever. I don't think this is a right-left thing. I actually don't even really agree with the whole phraseology of right-left libertarian. I think you're a libertarian, and then you have some personal preferences of how you conduct your life, or, you know, what the people you choose to hang out with. I think the fact that you might have more conservative leanings is as relevant to your libertarianism as the fact that you might prefer chocolate ice cream. Honestly, I think we need to ditch that terminology of right-left libertarian, to be honest with you, because I don't think it's relevant to libertarianism at all. It's talking about your personal preferences. And again, that has as much relevance to your libertarianism as your favorite color, your favorite ice cream, what foods you like, and what movies you like. Mike wanted me to get this up. I'm gonna get to, yeah, I said all super chats will go up. Mike says, I condemn super chats. That's irrational. And okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. And some of you might recognize this blast from the past t-shirt here, which is still for sale on my store. I gotta make some more t-shirts, by the way, but thank you, Mike. That's a good one. So if it doesn't belong in our platform, and I am absolutely saying in pure libertarian theory, it's possible to be a libertarian bigot. I won't want to be around you. But also I'm saying that the Libertarian Party bigots should be made to feel unwelcome. So this is the rabbit trail I was going to go into, which Mike will appreciate a lot more probably than everyone else. So in the parliamentary field, so Mike's ears just perked up, I know, so I know right now, of which I'm a part of as a registered parliamentarian, there is a code of professional conduct. Now, what I found really interesting about the Code of Professional Conduct, it's divided into two sections. The top part, so section 1, I think it is aspirational. And then 2, 3, and I can't remember if there's a section 4. Everything after that is things that you can actually be put under discipline, get a warning, or whatever it might be for, or somebody could file a complaint for you. And those are the things like, you know, not taking jobs that you're not qualified for, bad deeds, professionally bad deeds. The aspirational part, which I could guarantee you probably the National Association of Parliamentarians think Mike and I are failing at that, because we do a show that is kind of raunchy and whatever. So I guess the aspirational things are much more judgment calls. You know, some people might think that isn't, you know, the most uptight and prude way to behave. But I think we can adopt some of that, and I actually recommend it. I don't know whether, in fact, the LNC ever adopted this in a code of conduct that they were going to, they were considering that Adrian Malagon would have never been able to follow. But when I helped Jonathan McGee with wording it, I divided it very much like the National Association of Parliamentarians into aspirational goals that weren't subject to discipline and ones that actually were. So I do think that, and I just got an alert. Oh, it's about a dachshund. I'll have to send this. I've made an inquiry about an adoptable dachshund. And here's a super chat from Winrich. Why should our lines of thinking be based on seating arrangements from the old French Assembly? Well, I think it's evolved a bit since then. I don't know why it's called parliamentary, whatever. Anyway, their code of conduct thing, I think, can give us guidance here. So, if we want something officially public facing, what is part of our platform that is aspirational? Because I'd been thinking about this. Like, I do not want to put back in that sentence into the platform because I think we're going to get into the same old fights and it will never get a 2/3 vote, even though I think 2/3 of the delegates at convention would agree with the sentiment, but also agree that it can be weaponized in a way. And I'm actually going to give Michigan as an example here. Not getting into the whole big dispute over, well, this is kind of part of the dispute over leadership, but it goes back to the genesis of it. So the genesis of Andrew Chatterton becoming chair initially of the Michigan Party was because they have a first vice chair and a second vice chair. The chair and the first vice chair resigned. And Andrew Chatterton was second vice chair. He auto-ascended to chair. But why did the chair and the first vice chair resign? They resigned within a month, I think it was, after Reno, because that sentence got deleted from the platform. But here's what's funny. They split into the two groups. We're not getting into which was right or wrong. The group that followed the line of thinking of the former chair and former first vice chair, that they were mad that was deleted from the platform in Reno, had their own convention, and at their convention, someone tried to put that line into the Michigan platform, and it failed. So from a group, ooh, that's the furnace. Got to turn that off. Okay, sorry about that. I usually do that before the show starts. So from the same group that actually lost its upper leadership over the fact of that being deleted in Reno, couldn't even get the votes to put it in their own platform. So that goes to show that this isn't quite a simple issue. So it got me thinking, where do we have such a division, kind of like the Code of Professional Responsibility for the National Association of Parliamentarians? And we do. It's the preamble. The preamble is aspirational, and it's come under a lot of criticism before. Like, our goal is nothing more, nothing less than a world set free in our lifetime. And people have complained about how that's pie in the sky and all of that. And I have always said, because it's aspirational, it's what we're looking forward to. It's our ideals. So I don't have exact language. And Dave, when I say furnace, it's our combo furnace air conditioner. So it was the AC, really. But because I'm so used to it coming on because of cold, I just call it the furnace, because the furnace room's right here. Mike knows. He's been down here and up. The furnace room's right there. So I am thinking, and I don't have exact language. I don't even know if I'll be in Grand Rapids. This is why I'm putting this before you guys. Trying to put the bigotry plank back in, and hi Chuck, I want to put his comment up too. And I know there's a lot of comments here, but this is really Libertarian in-house where we can talk. Because I agree with him. Chuck says, I think we should put back in the anti-bigotry plank or the pro-choice plank. I had said earlier in the show, I don't know if you were here, even though I am pro-life, I did not support the deletion of that plank because I felt it was guardrails against the Republican infiltration of the party. And it said, and make one or both require 7As. I wouldn't agree with that. I think the statement of principles has to keep that honor, but I tend to think the past abortion plank was so mild. It didn't even make any claims. The more I looked at it, I used to, and he said it would stop the alt-right and conservatives from cosplaying as libertarians. When I was a brand new libertarian, you read the article, Chuck, that I wrote. I used to be very much in favor of deleting the abortion plank. But the more I studied it and reflected upon it, I realized that it didn't really say, it made very few claims. The only claim it made was that the government should stay out of it. And people inferred from that libertarians was saying it was okay, that there was no moral problem or whatever. No, just like for the same reason, I don't think that you should have to put in your ID to watch Pornhub, because think of the children doesn't imply that I want children to be watching Pornhub. It's that I think that issue needs to be dealt with differently. But anyway, it didn't even make a claim that it was right. It made no claims other than government was the worst way to handle it. And the more I looked at that plank, I'm like, it doesn't offend me as a pro-life person, because even as a pro-life person, I wasn't a fan of the government handling it. I always felt it was a social issue. Now, that actually belongs in the platform because that's talking about the government. But the bigotry thing. So I started looking at the preamble, and I don't know if because I haven't shared my screen in a while here, if I even remember how to do this. Yes. Okay. So here is the platform, and looking at the preamble. And we're just going to read it and try to maybe work out a little bit amongst ourselves where this could go in here. And I'd love to hear your thoughts if this is where you actually think it belongs. In the aspirations. So it says, as libertarians, we seek a world of liberty. Now, people have gotten really upset with that, saying, no, we only need to be concerned about our country, though I do think the word world there can be easily taken as hyperbolic, but it says a world in which all individuals are sovereign over their own lives and not forced to sacrifice their value for the benefit of others. We believe that respect for individual rights is the essential precondition for a free and prosperous world. And I actually think it's somewhere in here that it belongs. And something to the extent of perhaps, and I'm just spitballing here, we believe that respect for individual rights, and I would actually add, and dignity, is the essential precondition for a free and prosperous world, comma, that force and fraud must be banished from human relationships, comma, that bigotry is irrational and repugnant, comma, and that only through freedom can peace and prosperity be realized. I think that's exactly where it belongs. In this aspirational thing. Because as I've often said, and I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on that, and that brings up a whole other issue that gets into bylaws geekery a little bit, Now, how do I turn off sharing my screen? Here? Yes. Okay. Haven't done this in a while. I think that could pass there. As it not being, it actually is part of the preamble. There's a huge argument. We got to go into the bylaws. I'm sorry. Is the preamble part of the platform? That has been a big debate. And why does that matter? It matters because if it's not part of the platform, it only requires a majority vote to change. If it is part of the platform, it requires a 2/3 vote to change. I've argued both sides of that. I kind of flip back and forth, and members of last bylaws committee will recall that I had a proposal that would clarify, that would settle that issue. I do think that issue needs to be settled. But right now, I think you could very easily argue it would only require a majority. And that would require a ruling of the chair, which could be overturned if the chair said it required 2/3 by a majority, at least a majority negative. So I think it's very possible in Grand Rapids to amend the preamble with a lower vote threshold. And hey, Sylvia, how you doing? With a lower vote threshold, and get that language back in a place that isn't talking about libertarian theory, but talking about an ideal libertarian world. So, as I started to say before, this gets into the debate between margarita time. This gets into, just have a dry throat. This gets into the debate between thick and thin libertarianism. Now, as a libertarian, not necessarily a Libertarian Party member, as a libertarian, just libertarian, as a philosophy, I'm as I say as I'm as thin as they come, but when actually, like, I'm getting a little chunky, but I mean in my philosophy, I'm as thin as they come. However, the Libertarian Party, while it is based upon libertarian ideology, a political party cannot, by its nature, be absolutely thin. It has to, if it wants to succeed, add some things to its structure and philosophy in order to even get any kind of hearing. That is not saying that makes that a requirement to be a philosophical libertarian, but I do not think it is, unreasonable to say, as a party, even though you might theoretically be perfectly libertarian in your little whites only community, that's not welcome in the party. I don't think that is, again, unreasonable. And I don't think that's adding anything to libertarianism. It is adding something to the fact that we are kind of a business. And you just don't do dumb things by saying, well, that's a peaceful Nazi, so that's okay, come on in. Now, do I think there should be expulsions or anything like that? Nope, I don't believe in that. Never been my thing. I think it's the culture that we need to develop in the party. That bigotry, it just is not tolerated. And I know people will scream till they're blue in the face, and they hit it a lot more during the campaign, and they're not hiding it as much now. As a lot of the Chase Oliver hatred wasn't because he didn't have libertarian policies or boo-hoo. He disagreed with Ron Paul on something. I disagree with Ron Paul on some things. Everyone tried to make it like he was dissing Ron Paul in every aspect. No, he just disagreed with Ron Paul on one issue. I disagree with Ron Paul on his support for the Defense of Marriage Act. Burn the heretic. You know, if you're made Ron Paul your God, you've got other problems to be worried about than whether or not you like Chase Oliver. But what's become abundantly clear, that I'm not going to say it's more than half, but it's, let's just say half, because I think that's probably close to the truth. Half of the dislike of him had nothing to do with his positions, but the fact that he was gay. because we have a bigotry problem in this party. And it's high time that we faced it and we made it unwelcome. So one way I do think that would be a good step, because wish number one we're not going to get. My wish number one was to have an LNC that had some testicular fortitude to set the example. But then again, you have a chair that allowed absolute harassment on the LNC and allowed his favorite little pet to go and sexually harass members. So wanting the LNC to do anything about it, that's not going to happen. So the delegates need to take it in their own hands. And you don't want the cure to be worse than the problem, which is what happened in Reno. It went too far one way. I think we need to strike the middle. And I would very much like to hear your thoughts on placing a statement like that in the preamble. I tend to think this is the solution, but I'm willing, more than willing, to hear y'all's thoughts on it. And yeah, let me put this right here with yeah, it was not just because he was gay, it was because he was openly gay. Like, he wasn't one of those good gays, you know, that you wouldn't know. He was bold enough to be openly gay. Okay. It's the same people who will be like, great pink hair. It's like, okay, you know, whatever. So, and CK Nightlighter, I see you have something on the abortion thing. I'm not really going to get into, no disrespect. Really want to keep this focused on this. So, if anyone watching this after the fact, or you're watching it now, Mike says, see my comment above. I'm trying to. Yeah, I saw that, and I don't think it's strong enough. This was Mike's comment to say we encourage everyone to respect each other and themselves. I don't think that means the same thing as bigotry is irrational and repugnant. I think that's much stronger. And we don't have a problem, I think, with people in the party not respecting themselves to the extent that I think we need to make a statement on it. I don't know. But, you know, that's something for others to consider if they think that maybe that's the way to do it. Particularly those of you who are pretty sure you're going to be in Grand Rapids. I really would love for you to give this some thought. Again, comment below. Would love to hear it. Would really, again, like to have some language worked out and a plan for someone to move this from the floor, or if someone from who ends up being on the platform committee wanted to, you know, suggest it in platform. So, and Mike says, bigotry is a lack of respect for each other and themselves. I think that gets a bit esoteric. I don't think most people see it that way. I think actually bigotry is having too full of yourself sometimes. Anyway, so that's going to be it. You missed everything, that Nathan. We expelled you from the party. We had a whole trial and everything. Sorry you missed it. All right, guys, that is going to be it for this episode. So I hope it gave you some food for thought, and I'm glad to be back podcasting. I say podcasting, YouTubing, whatever. I'm showing my age regularly, and hopefully going to see you tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they want to